Berks Business on BCTV is supported by the Wert Investment Consulting Group of Wells Fargo Advisors.
Hello and welcome to Berks Business. My name is Claudia Wert and I'm a financial advisor with the Wert Investment Consulting Group of Wells Fargo Advisors. Wert Investment Consulting Group was founded by my father, Robert Wert, and he also started this TV show, Berks Business. Today I have my guest, Mark Griffin, from In His Name HR. Mark, it's great to have you on the show.
Hi, Claudia. Thanks for having me.
Well, yeah, so why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about your backstory, because it's absolutely fascinating.
Sure. My name's Mark Griffin. I have a human resource consulting firm. We're located in Lancaster County, and we launched about 8 years ago thinking that we would do HR work for primarily for-profit smaller companies. And what's happened is our company has grown to be a nationally recognized firm, and we're actually doing HR work for companies all across the United States.
That's fascinating. So how did you get to the point of, because you've worked in HR for over 25 years, and you've worked for some really fascinating corporations.
Yes, I have. I have had the privilege of working for some really large organizations, the Quaker Oats company, Kodak Corporation, Merck Pharmaceutical. I have been privileged to go to many higher education programs at the University of Michigan, executive programs. I got my MBA at Bloomsburg University, so I'm a Pennsylvania native. But what was happening to me is I kept progressing in human resources to higher and higher levels of responsibility. And about 10 years ago, I landed the job of my dreams, and that was Vice President of Human Resources. So as I worked through that position and I made some great impacts in that organization, I really kind of looked internally and thought, what's left in my career and what should I be doing? And I kind of got a stirring in my heart that I needed to take the gifts and all the learnings that I was blessed to get and go out and help these smaller organizations.
So how did you come to focus specifically on small businesses?
Well, I knew there was a need because I was working, I had worked for billion-dollar corporations, but then living in Lancaster County for the last 15 years put me in front of a lot of smaller organizations. And I got to meet some really great people, and I knew that these people wanted to grow their business to really care for their employees, care for the communities in which they were doing business. So I wanted to be a part of that.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the core focus of your business.
The core focus of our business is a little bit unique. We're unique and different. And as I was developing the marketing plan for our organization, I knew there were a lot of Christian-owned companies that needed help. And they needed to navigate through the whole faith aspect and not be offensive to people. So that was something that I've gotten feedback that I'm very good at sharing my faith without offending people. And I thought if I could create an organization that could help these for-profit Christian-owned businesses do really well, I might have a niche that I could really help organizations.
That's fascinating.
Thank you.
So why don't you talk a little bit about development of HR in the small business community?
Sure. The first thing that we do is we do a human resources assessment with any organization that we work with. We go in and we roll up our sleeves and we spend 2 days looking at what they're doing in all aspects of HR. We kind of give them a report card. At the end of that report card, we say, here's what you're doing really well, here's what you're doing poorly, and here's how we can help you over the next 2, 3, or 4 years close those gaps.
That's fascinating. Do you find people respond well to the report card model?
They absolutely respond very well to it because many people just don't understand things that they need to be doing from a compliance perspective and the legal issues that they can have if they're not compliant. But they also start to understand the strategy of HR, putting the right people in the right seats, growing and developing, having feedback mechanisms within the organization to help them grow and prosper.
That's interesting. So where are you seeing the biggest opportunities in HR?
I think one of the biggest opportunities currently is really in two different areas. The one area, the immediate concern is around recruitment. Organizations are having a very difficult time recruiting all types of employees, whether it's maintenance, cleaning professionals, manufacturing employees, or even marketing professionals, CEOs, CFOs. No matter what role, it's very, very difficult to recruit people right now.
Why is that?
I think what's happened is the economy's exploded really in the last 2 years. We weren't really expecting it. A lot of companies weren't expecting it, and we weren't prepared for it. And unfortunately, in the technical fields, it's a really big problem. We haven't trained up enough students to be carpenters, electricians. I mean, we really have a crisis in this country when it comes to truck drivers, CDL drivers.
Exactly.
I get calls from organizations all the time, companies in Berks County, that call and say, I need 10 drivers or I need 20 drivers. So we never really got ahead of it. My wish would have been that when the economy failed 7 or 8 years ago, that we started training people for jobs where there would be vacancies, but we didn't do that as a country or a state.
So it seems that success breeds its own problems.
Exactly, it does.
That is fascinating. So, okay, suppose I'm a small company and I need to hire 10 workers, but I just don't know where to start.
Sure.
What do I do?
I think the worst thing that an owner of a business can do is wait until it's too late to start recruiting. A good organization is constantly recruiting, even when they don't have positions available. They always have a bench of applicants. They also have a reputation in the community of honor and respect, and a place where we would want our wives or daughters or sons or brothers to work there. So starting out creating that the mission, vision, values of the organization, sharing that with employees, getting their input on the mission, vision, values, and then doing some light marketing into the community of who you are, what it is that you stand for, and then also some benefits that you offer the employees. Talk to your people, bring your people in and say, you've worked here for 10 years, why do you like working here? Don't think that you have all the answers. Sometimes you'd be surprised at what employees will tell you why they like working for your organization is a reason you had no idea they were coming back every day for.
That's really interesting because a lot of you make a really good point. A lot of the time, businesses think about marketing potential customers.
Sure.
Not necessarily about how to communicate that same message to potential employees.
Exactly. And I think organizations forget that whenever they're marketing to hire employees, they're also marketing to potential customers. So if you're marketing out on all these social media venues that you're recruiting people and you're educating your potential customers on what a great place it is to work, customers are going to go, wow, they treat their people with dignity and respect, maybe I should buy from them.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Really, everyone is in sales.
Exactly.
And your employees, at the end of the day, are your biggest salespeople.
Sure.
Huh. So we talked a little bit before this about how employers can go out and communicate that message. And one of the things you said was by giving testimonials and illustrating different, what was it? You said it was testimonials. That was it.
Yeah.
So how can companies take that message and bring that to the community?
So we talked about you want to market why people want to work for your organization. You have your mission, vision, values, maybe on one side of the document. On the other side, we call it a benefits fact sheet. It could be medical benefits, it could be dental benefits, it could be paid time off. It could be the benefit of working for a family-owned business. That's a benefit. There's many people that want to work for a family-owned business. But again, you're going to get those ideas of why people would want to work for you from your employees, and then formally document that and then share that. And as you get comfortable to sharing that as you recruit people, you can also develop like videos. Get a video crew to come in and talk about why your employees like to work for you, and interview some employees and have them on the video. You know, many years ago, back in the 90s, I worked for the Gatorade division of Quaker Oats. We did very similar things. We went out to the schools in Indianapolis. We talked to students. We brought students into the factory, showed them how we were manufacturing Gatorade, and let them know, hey, there's an option. You don't have to go to college. You can come here and make a lot of money and, you know, raise a family with the salary from this company. But we really marketed the company into the community, that we cared about the community. We put student programs in place, had all kinds of different programs, so people got to know us as kind of an employer of choice.
Interesting. That's actually, that brings up a problem that, or an opportunity that we had discussed earlier. There's a distinct problem that students are leaving the area to go find opportunity elsewhere because companies just aren't marketing to the people we have.
Exactly. We're not marketing what's available here, so students aren't preparing for it, so they prepare for something else and end up going to a different part of the country, which doesn't serve the community well. I think as we have children coming up through middle school and high school, if we educate them on what opportunities are available in the community, I think that'll pay dividends strategically long term for the community itself. Also, too, looking at students, their giftings, what are their strengths, and maybe personality tests, and getting a good understanding of what are they really gifted in, and then matching that with their career path.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it.
Many students major in things where, one, they're not suited for the major because they don't have the giftings, and two, there might not even really be an opportunity in that field. It's a degree, but there's not a lot of jobs in the area that support that degree.
And there's no lack of opportunity in Berks and Lancaster.
Exactly.
This area is growing dramatically.
It is. They're both growing dramatically.
Mm-hmm. I want to actually go back to a topic you had mentioned earlier about benefits. What trends are you seeing in the employer benefit space?
We're seeing a lot of trends to pay time off versus holiday pay, vacation pay, sick pay, where organizations are just collapsing it entirely and calling it paid time off and giving employees a bucket to choose from. The other thing that I'm seeing is employers need to be more generous with time off. We have many people graduating college that are coming out that are expecting a higher level of vacation time or time off to travel the world, to spend time on hobbies. And many organizations want to fight it and say, well, we don't want to do that, or we don't want to, and they're going to lose because those employees or potential employees are going to go to a company that's going to be generous with benefits. So rather than fighting it, be generous if you can afford it and embrace that, and you have happier employees.
So the more and more you treat your employees like human beings,
exactly,
the more incentivized they are to work for you.
Yes. More committed they are.
It's a perfect trade-off.
Yes, it is.
So moving on, I want to talk about kind of a more controversial topic. You specialize in talking about the Me Too movement. Sure.
The Me Too movement, as we all know, in the last year, 2 years, has really polarized the whole country. Matt Lauer, Harvey Weinstein, but not just in those areas of media, television, and Hollywood. We have issues all across the country in a variety of different organizations. When we launched, we specifically focused on for-profit companies, many who are Christian-owned. But as we became recognized nationally that was our niche and we were growing, we became very attractive to Christian colleges, Bible colleges, and then ministries, and then churches, and now Christian camps. So we're supporting all those organizations. And the Me Too situation hits all those organizations as well, because all those organizations aren't immune from people having sin or issues or breaking laws. They're organizations, and you put people together. So what we like to do in our evaluation is spend time around what are we doing with the employees to train, to develop, to make sure they know what is right and what's wrong as it relates to sexual harassment, but then also creating programs and training and development of a leadership staff, and then marrying the two to make the organization successful so that people can get along, treat each other with dignity, but also it's important to isolate the legal issues that the company or the organization or the ministry or the church or the college could have if they don't do this correctly.
It's really important to get ahead of that.
It's really important to get ahead of it. It's the right thing to do, first and foremost, is to nip it in the bud, do the training, talk to people. But from a legal standpoint, there are Supreme Court cases where organizations have been isolated that when a leader does something to an employee and they've been trained and it's been documented and they've signed off for it, the organization is isolated from liability because the organization did the right thing and trained the leader and they trained the employee and they told them not to do certain things in the work environment. And that's really important to me, because if you have a camp, for instance, that doesn't have a lot of money, one lawsuit could wipe the camp out, and then children don't have a place to go for the next 100 years or whatever. So it's really important to have the people trained and to protect the camp from lawsuits from a manager that doesn't do the right thing.
Yeah, that's extremely important.
Thank you.
So what are some specific training practices that employers can start putting in place?
I think first and foremost, looking at your policies and procedures and making sure that you have the documents in place, that you have a sexual harassment process in place, you have a reporting process in place. If you're small, you may need a third party that the person can report the issue or the alleged violation to maybe the third party, because maybe their manager's the owner of the organization. That's not the best way to have a report. It's hard to report when it's your manager. So looking at the policies and procedures, but also looking at how often people are trained.
That's interesting. So how many businesses do you find are putting these processes and procedures in place as a percentage?
I think most are attempting to do it. Of course, there's some organizations that try to hide and they don't want to invest the time and the money and the energy to do it. But most of the organizations that contact us and we go into a relationship with, of course, they're 100%. They follow the advice and we get the job done.
I'm really glad that you're working on addressing this issue, because it seems like it's something that specifically in the HR community needs to be mentioned more.
Thank you.
So how would a prospective business owner or employee get in contact with you?
Well, it's really easy to get in contact with us. You can email me. We have the email address up on this presentation. You can call me. I think either way is fine. Or if you want to learn more about us, you can visit us at inhisnamehr.com. And we have an incredible social media presence on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram that we've cultivated in the last 8 years. So we have a lot of followers, and we blog. We blog probably once a week with new information about human resources. So we literally probably have over 100 articles around HR topics on our website.
Yeah, I highly recommend following his blog. He puts out some fantastic content.
Thank you.
I've definitely used that before.
Thank you.
So just to follow up with that, talking about geography specifically, where in the country do you work?
We work all over the country. Again, when we launched 8 years ago, I was thinking we'd pick up some companies in Lancaster County. It would be a great way to serve the Lancaster County, but that's not what happened. We've gone to Iowa. We're going to Arizona here in the next few weeks. We've gone all the way up to New Hampshire, New York State, Maryland, New Jersey. We have clients in New Jersey. So we're really all over the United States. I travel internationally and do a lot of work missionally in third world countries. So that's interesting, because a lot of my friends and contacts in third world countries are starting to learn a lot about these principles. So I can see it even growing internationally over the next couple of years.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. I'm glad you're getting the message out there.
Thank you.
That is really fascinating. I'm so glad to have you on the program.
I'm honored to be here.
And I just wanted to mention that if anybody wanted to call in the last few minutes and ask a question, the number is 610-378-0426. That's 610-378-0426. This is usually about the time my brother calls in and asks a question.
Sure.
I'm just waiting for that.
Somebody.
But actually, in the last few minutes, I want to talk a little bit about at what stage of a company's life should they be calling you?
We get the most calls from companies that are getting into 30, 40 employees.
Okay.
The most important thing you can do is get with somebody, a professional HR firm, before you go over 50. There's a lot of laws that you need to comply to, FMLA, ADA, the list goes on and on and on, that we want to make sure that you're shored up. So we have many clients right now that came to us that they were at 30 employees. They've grown to like 70, and we continue to work with them, and we've been working with them for years. So we'd like to partner with the organizations long-term to be part of their success and growth.
So you stay with them throughout the lifetime of the process?
Absolutely.
No, that's so important because rules and regulations change so much as companies
they
grow.
get updated, staff turns over, and we can always be consistent for them.
That's really fascinating. Now, what's the largest company you've worked with? Not name-wise, but I mean in terms of employee number.
Sure, 800.
800?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Sure.
And do you find, in the last few seconds, do you find that the process is pretty much the same for
It's always the same, whether there's 10 employees or 800 employees. Our process is the same.
Is the same.
Yeah. Naturally, the less employees, the less amount of work that we have to do. The more employees, a lot more work. But the process still stays the same. You have to comply to the same laws.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad. We're so blessed to have you on.
Thank you.
Again,
Claudia.
this is Berks Business, and I'm your host, Claudia Wert, with the Wert Investment Consulting Group of Wells Fargo Advisors. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great night.
Thank you.
Berks Business on BCTV is supported by the Wert Investment Consulting Group of Wells Fargo Advisors.